You know, it's come to my attention that after I put out my review video on the Schneider Xenon full-frame prime cine lenses, that was sending the wrong message, and a lot of folks interpreted that as me completely abandoning vintage stills lenses. And that's simply just not the case. In fact, I still own quite a large amount of vintage stills lenses. The point of the Xenon video was to just drive home the whole point of why I wasn't using stills lenses anymore for paid cinematography work. And you know, the loss of my vintage Tokina Ingenue 28-70 f2.6 zoom lens was, in fact, a very sad day. However, my obsession with Minolta Rokkors led me to discovering my new favorite vintage zoom lens. This is the MD Mark II Rokkor 24-50 zoom lens. And what a better place to showcase a lens like this than out here in beautiful Joshua Tree, California.
Looks good to me.
This is cool. Wooden hot tub, I've never seen such a thing.
Okay, this is not the Breakfast Club.
So this little lens was first released by Minolta back in 1978, and it has maintained a highly regarded reputation throughout its lifespan. In fact, when this lens first launched, it was double the price of the 24-35mm f3.5, and it even cost more than the popular 135mm f2. So that $650 back in 1978 would be the equivalent of $2,950 in 2022. But don't worry, this lens is currently going for about $2,700 less than that. And you might be surprised to find that this lens has very minimal distortion and a better center sharpness than other Rokkor prime lenses of its era. So it really is like having 4 prime lenses in one. Now, 2 reasons why this particular lens was originally on my radar. Well, 2 reasons other than the simple fact that it is a Minolta Rokkor. The first one is the focal range, 24mm to 50mm. That is a zoom range that I'm really fond of, that you don't really come by too easily when it comes to vintage zoom lenses, certainly not ones for under $200. Some more contemporary options within that focal range is something like a $2,500 DZO Cine Zoom, or something like an older red zoom cine lens, or something like what I used to own, which was a modern Sigma Art 24-70. I love the range of 24 to 50mm, because for me, that's 4 of my favorite focal lengths in one compact lens. Which leads me to the second bonus. This little guy is just a little over 2.5 inches long and weighs in at only 395 grams. And yet its optical design consists of 13 elements in 11 groups. I mean, just look at that beautiful front element. And even though this lens seems small, it still takes 72mm filters. But now let's talk about what I discovered makes this lens truly remarkable. First of all, it has those beautiful signature Minolta flares. But the craziest thing is, there is very minimal breathing. The breathing is almost unnoticeable, which is really nuts to me considering the age, size, and the low price. I mean, most of the prime lenses that I own breathe more than this little Rokkor, and they have a way heftier price tag. Like, some of them are 4 times the price. On top of that, to my eye, it also seems to be parfocal, which is awesome for doing crash zooms with a lens this small. What a surprising little gem. And to be honest, this thing was on my eBay watch list for a very long time, until this one popped up so dirt cheap that I just could not say no. I actually got this lens and an old Minolta XD for only 128 bucks. Now, the old analog camera has definitely been through some hard times. However, the lens was surprisingly in a much far better condition. I think the fact that it had a UV filter on it probably saved it through a lot of those harsh times, because the glass is pretty damn immaculate. However, there is still a fair amount of dust on the inside, so it could definitely still benefit from a CLA. And I found some people thinking it's funny that I'm paying all this money to have some of my Minolta Rokkor CLA'd, but I don't care, man. I just love the Rokkor glass that much. All right, but now let's talk about the cons. Well, first of all, it is only an f4. Granted, it is a consistent f4 throughout the entire zoom range. Also, considering the fact that it is a full frame lens, f4 really isn't all that bad on a full frame sensor. In fact, it's pretty damn similar to a 2.8 on Super 35. The close focusing is nothing to write home about, coming in at 2.5 feet. And even though it is a 2-touch zoom, meaning it's not a push-pull like most vintage zoom lenses, the front element does still rotate when focusing. So that is a deal breaker for clamp-on matte boxes, even though I would never do that to a vintage lens this small anyways. However, rotating front elements can definitely still be a big pain in the ass when using circular polarizers or even variable NDs. Now, it also does suffer a bit from unwanted glare. However, this one came with this awesome clamp-on hood, which you're definitely going to want to use to fight back some of those big circular flares, which are very reminiscent of the version 1 Leica R 19mm. Now, the focus throw is fairly small. It's only 90 degrees. So that's not a very large range. However, for minimalist one-man band kind of setups, it's actually quite reasonable. And honestly, it's still longer than what is on the old Tokina 28-70. In fact, it's even longer than what the modern Sigma Art 24-70 offers. Because all the Sigma Art lenses are geared towards autofocus users, therefore their manual range is fairly small and they are focused by wire. The last con that is really more of just a personal con is that it is an MD Mark II and not my favorite generation of Rokkors, which is the MC Mark IIIs. I am super partial to the 3rd generation of MC Rokkors, but unfortunately, Minolta never made a wide-angle zoom for the MC Mark IIIs. But all in all, I was pleasantly surprised when this Minolta arrived. I originally only intended to use it for travel and street photography because before I got it, I honestly did not know what to expect. But now, knowing what I know that it's capable of, the absence of heavy focus breathing and the parfocal capabilities really makes me consider using this on documentary shoots, especially considering the small, lightweight size. And since it is an f4, I think it would shine best on something like the Sony a7S III or even the little Sigma FP. In fact, combining this zoom with the little FP makes for a pretty damn compact minimalist setup. It's not bad. I don't know if I would want to do street photography with this, but travel, that's not bad. Now, granted, I don't have the EVF on here, but still. And again, I just really love the focal range of 24mm all the way to 50mm. You know, when it comes to zoom lenses, it's really hard to get one that starts that wide and goes that tight. In fact, that is the exact reason why the modern Sigma Art 24-70 f2.8 was in my kit for a while. You know, that lens is a full stop faster, has an even longer reach, and it has optical image stabilization. However, the Sigma is a beast. It weighs over 2 pounds. And when it zooms, it extends way out and gets even longer. Versus this little guy, when you change its focal length, it barely changes the length of the lens. That is a huge bonus. That is pretty rad. So it's not as cool as the Tokina 2.6, the 2870, you know, where you zoom that and it's all internal zoom. That would be really ideal. But, you know, compared to something like the Sigma Art 24-70, I actually prefer this, you know, it's not nearly as huge and clunky, and it doesn't grow like this big when you zoom in. That was a bit of an exaggeration, but still, you know, I don't like the look of lenses that extend like that. It just kind of reminds me of just a cheap kit lens. I don't know, it's more of just a personal aesthetic choice. I just don't like those kinds of lenses, even though, you know that Sigma Art 24-70 2.8, you know, no shade towards that lens. That is a good lens. It's just a tad too modern for my personal aesthetic. And again, the size, man, the size is a huge deal breaker for me. So ultimately I ditched that one, and I gotta say I'm pretty happy with this Minolta 24-50. Well, the lens that I actually replaced the Sigma Art with is, well, a different lens that I will share with the YouTube world in the somewhere near future. This one was really just bought for fun, to really just use for travel and street photography, but now that I have it and have been using it, I gotta say, man, I am super impressed with it. And yeah, you know, I would choose this over the Sigma Art. What you lose with one stop of light, you gain a way more compact setup. I mean, this lens is 625 grams less. Plus, it just has a way more organic looking image. It has very minimal focus breathing, and it's pretty much parfocal as far as my eyes can tell. Plus, you do get a little bit longer of a focus throw, and its tiny size makes it extremely easy to do a crash zoom. And another bonus, if you are using this on something like the Sigma FP and you needed a little bit longer reach, you could just jump into DC mode, which would allow you to achieve the look of an 80mm on the long end. I am just so stoked on this lens. It's been a really long time since I've come across an uncut gem like this. And as it goes, if you are at all interested in this, now is the time to nab it up. Because like I said, this thing is cheap. And in my opinion, it is worth way more than what it is going for. I've left an eBay link down in the description below to fast track all of your shopping endeavors. Just make sure you get the Rokkor version and not the Sony A mount. Also keep in mind, you cannot really convert these old Minolta lenses to Canon EF. However, Canon RF, Sony, and L mount users, those are all easily adaptable to the old Minolta SR mount. All right, so that's another one in the bag. That's gonna do it. Thank you all for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, we have started rolling out an official Dog Times merch store. So there should be somewhere, whatever device you're watching on, there will be a little link with a little, you know, a preview of some of the items down below, and you should check it out, man. Just if you're, you know, for all the, I know there's a lot of people that want to show their support that don't really, you know, want to bother with the Patreon, and I totally get that. I totally understand that. Anything regarding filmmaking, if you're doing it on an independent level, that's what I'm all about. That's what Dog Times is all about, you know? So the merch store is just another option to provide something, hopefully a legitimate product for anybody that is a huge fan of the show, and also you have a little memento, and also it's a way for you to keep this channel going. Because also you have to keep in mind that I still work full-time as a freelancer here in Los Angeles, you know, so I'm not like a full-time YouTuber, I'm not like one of these guys, you know, so, you know, I'm just like all of you, I'm on the grind, you know. I gotta give a shout out to all of my Dog Times Patreon supporters. Special thanks to the members of our producers tier, as well as our YouTube Pro Tips member, that's Visit VR. Okay, folks, that's gonna do it for this one. As always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you sometime whenever the next video comes out. All right. Twisted my knee.
Well, the good news is I got it all on camera.
Look, this one's super easy to get up there. For the most part. Oh, cool. It is super warm. What is the temperature out here in Joshua Tree today? 88 degrees. It's not bad, actually. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that hat hair, dog. There's a hat hair out there. Got the X. Ah, shoot. Let's wait for this wind to die down real quick.